Excuse me for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Welcome back to the show. Friday night dump, as people would say. Dropping a lot of content on you all at once. This is supposed to get you through the weekend until you get to see us on Monday morning, boys and girls. So, Jakob Rodriguez, UFC expert, fan, best friend, it all worked out together. So, he talks to us a little bit about the fights that are happening this Saturday, UFC 250, and then we talk a little bit about all the other COVID-related topics that you can with fighting. It was a ton of fun. You're going to want to listen to the whole thing. And at the end of the podcast, a little bit of pop culture news for you. So stick around for that. Jakob Rodriguez, right here. I'm going to start the recording. And, all right, we're here. We're good to go. All right, on the phone line with us or on the Zoom call with us or whatever we want to call this, Jakob Rodriguez, former editor-in-chief, current best friend, talking to us about UFC fighting. 250 coming out on Saturday. Whenever you guys hear this, it could be Monday, it could be late Friday, whenever you guys hear this. The main event, kind of into that, you have some stuff you wanted to get into with it too. Let's start off with just off the top, because we both like content. We both are big into what we read, what we watch, what we listen to. We want the stuff, the quality to be good. ESPN Plus sucks, and I'm really disappointed with their UFC coverage. I thought that this was going to be well written. I thought that they were going to get better writers. I understand why Dana White, I understand why guys like Joe Rogan are so mad at ESPN, because at first it was the Stephen A. Smith stuff. It was, well, this guy doesn't really know what he's doing. Why are we having him on these broadcasts with us? But as I'm like looking through it, because I want to do a little bit of research for the fights, I'm not going to put any money down, but I know people who were. Want to talk to them a little bit about it. And it's article after article, poorly written. It's the same guy over and over and over again. They're paying one guy to cover a pretty big sport where you need probably more people than just one guy. I'm not impressed. I don't know what you have thought about it. I don't know if you've been watching and listening to the coverage of it. I'm not impressed by ESPN.
I've been paying attention, okay, but it's definitely, the bastard child of sports. It's, only when you really need it, you pay attention to UFC or, just professional fighting in general. I think we were a couple weeks away. If UFC didn't pan out, we were going to start looking at, prize fighters in Brazil and stuff like that. That's probably how desperate, the world of sports is in right now.
But you've been into this for a minute, haven't you? From pretty much the start, you've been following mixed martial arts, following MMA, following UFC, right?
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. I had tap-out shirts when I was in middle school. I thought it was so cool.
Well, it's just to me, I didn't ever buy that, but I've been keeping up with it a little bit. I remember the Ultimate Fighter on, what was it? It was on Fox Sports, and it came on at 8 p.m. I always remember watching the promos for that during college football. That was my introduction to it. Dana White, kind of a crazy guy, so I like the sport-ish. It's fine, but I care more that you care about it, because it's a moneymaker. ESPN bought the rights to it. They're doing a lot with that their content, not nearly enough, not correctly, but they're doing stuff with it, and I find that kind of interesting too.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how they're doing Fight Pass and ESPN Plus, because I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a market for everything, because when I don't have ESPN Plus right now, but when I did have it, we were just students a couple weeks ago, so I would be in my first class of the day watching Iranian sand soccer. It's kind of sick. You ever tune into that? It's pretty gnarly.
I mean, it's something else, I guess. So I know you. Let's talk about the George Floyd stuff first, because this is shaking America, period, but it's shaking the sports world, or what's left of it. And a couple fighters spoke out. I know you have some thoughts on it. I have some thoughts on it. What are the fighters saying right now that you're keeping up with?
Well, the main person that I saw that kind of spoke out about it, and I probably wouldn't have ever thought he would speak out against anything, is Jorge Masvidal. He's a monster in and out of the cage. But he first had a tweet 2 days ago, right? Today's the 29th. Yeah, 2 days ago on the 27th. It was just a picture of the cop kneeling on George Floyd. He said, "Special place in hell for this guy." And then obviously like the number one news story in America right now is the stuff that's going on in Minneapolis. And so to that, he said, to my brothers and sisters in hashtag Minneapolis, please don't destroy your neighborhoods. Leave the violence to us professionals. Wow. Jorge Masvidal. Humanitarian? Question mark?
Question mark? I just think I've been kind of keeping up with it. I've been doing podcasts every day about the different athletes speaking out, who's saying what, when they're saying it. And it's just, I find it interesting, the social activism. And, you know, we said this with Kaepernick. We've said this before with Ferguson, that this was like a new generation of athletes that are going to come out, they're going to talk, and everybody essentially has embraced it. Everybody is on board with it. But it's funny to me how worldwide it is now. How, like, it's athletes in other countries who are commenting on American politics, commenting on American issues, which I'm fine with. I co-sign it completely. The more voices saying that, hey, the situation's effed up, the better. It's just, I find it funny. The line, like, leave the violence to the professionals, though. That's something.
Yeah, and he also called out Colby Covington, who's a prominent Trump supporter, too. So a lot of shots being taken. I don't know if the UFC in particular has ever had the sort of like platform that it does now, it being like the only like sport that's kind of functioning at any capacity. But
do you think they can do something with it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is like the time to do it. You know, like was it 2014 when like the players in the NBA had like I Can't Breathe shirts and stuff like that. So I mean, this is kind of like a mini version of that, I guess. But it's like a different moment and I guess a different medium almost, because like I feel like a lot of things have changed since 2014, and obviously like there's been like greater like, you know, if you see anything like the lady in the wheelchair, there was like 8 different video like angles on that too. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff that happens just because like the world is like, you know, very social media heavy and very like online everything now.
Well, it's funny to me because, like, I was talking to somebody else about how quickly the world's changed in 5 years. How, like, 5 years ago, social media was a big thing, took up a ton of our time, and now in 2020, especially during this pandemic, it takes up how much more? Like, thousands of hours more? It feels like it, at least.
Yeah, definitely 1,000% more.
So, smaller rings in UFC 250, smaller than there's been in the past, at least. Smaller audiences, clearly, smaller media covering it. How do you think this is going to play an effect on Saturday night?
I think it's kind of weird. I'm a pretty big Joe Rogan fan, obviously. So when he went to go fight about it, I mean, the last couple of podcasts, he's just been bringing it up kind of casually. And it's like, hey, this is like what I think about commenting, or being one of the only people that could possibly be brought in to commentate. I think he's only done one fight, the very last one. But he was saying that it was weird because like you can actually like hear the cornerman, and you can also hear the commentators. Like as a fighter, like one of the fighters said that one of the commentators probably gave him the best advice on the mat, and that's what, you know, ended up in a victory. Just seeing the weigh-ins though, I don't watch like all the weigh-ins. It's kind of weird too because there's a lot of fanfare that goes into fights and promoting fights and stuff like that, obviously. But like there's like basically none now, and they'll bring out one guy. They're all in masks too because they're taking, you know, proper precautions and stuff. Even though they do a handshake at the end, which I mean, whatever. I guess you can always sanitize that at the end of the day.
To me, it's crazy. Like, why even wear the masks when we're going to be, you know, butt to nut for 20, 30 minutes kicking and fighting each other on a mat that, let's be real here, gets like one Lysol wipe down between fights? Like, come on. It feels very disingenuous, I think, by UFC to even say like, oh no, we are taking the proper precautions. At this point, I would just jack the ticket prices up 10, 15, 30% and say, hey guys, if you want to show up, show up. It's Florida. Who's going to stop us?
Yeah, I think that's really what, I mean, Dana White was all for like, let's have Bloodsport Island. Let's keep going, you know, but I guess everybody shut them down pretty much, or ESPN.
As a fan of that, would you be like, yeah, no, that's a good idea for the sport?
I mean, I think it makes sense. Like if you can do something in like a safe manner, and this is obviously like the safest thing that you can do, and like not have spectators, like you should definitely do that. Like most everybody has a TV, if not a telephone with some sort of cellular, you know, device capacity.
How do you feel?
I think big crowds are still scary for me. You know, I still get weirded out going to HEB.
Yeah, I was out earlier today. I had my mask on, and it felt like everybody in San Antonio had their masks on, which I'm okay with. But, at some point we're just going to say, F it, whatever happens, happens, which I'm kind of nervous about that, to be completely honest with you. But I think UFC is doing the right thing having fights, because I think basketball and baseball are just itching to come back, and they just can't figure out the money. And because Dana White is like technically the owner of everything, it's almost like the WWE. It's almost like, hey, I own all of you. If you want to get paid, show up, kind of. There's no collective bargaining agreement. There's no union for the fighters. It's pretty much Dana White, and that's it.
I think this is like almost like the climax for all that to happen, though. Like there's going to be like more like power given to the fighters, because ultimately it's up to the fighters to take the fights. And if they don't feel comfortable doing it, or they don't want to do it, like everybody, like the fighter mentality is like, I want to fight now. That's why when people like drop out of fights and stuff, and they have like a 14-day notice, this usually always gets picked up because there's some idiot that's like, I'll take that fight, even though I haven't conditioned in weeks, or I just got off a fight 4 weeks ago that ended in the first round. I'll risk CTE and do something else. Yeah, why not?
So let's talk about it, because this welterweight fight, first off, I don't like that it's a welterweight main event. I never have liked it. I like it when it's heavyweights is the main event. I like it if it's not heavyweights. I like it when it's McGregor. If it's not McGregor, if it's not heavyweights, I'm not very interested. It's a welterweight fight. What's your interest level coming into this, Jacob?
Well, don't you think weight in regards to fighting, like boxing, UFC, anything really, is like nearly relative when you put it on like a scale? Because all these guys get down the weight and then immediately rehydrate and have like 2 or 3 really big meals depending on like their caloric intake for the fight, or they're tapering into the fight. And then it's like, well, that guy's at like 180 now. Like, does it really matter? Also, like, I mean, with water weight, that's like 4-5 pounds maybe if you're fully hydrated.
So you don't care about the weight classes. You're just in the fights.
Yeah, I want to see like big fights and big personality, I guess, is like what draws most people in, I think. And I don't know. Right now, I haven't been paying much attention. I should have watched the last one, because apparently those fights are really good, and I missed out. But none of these are really drawing me in right now.
Really? I was looking at the main event. I'm kind of interested in it. So it's Tyron Woodley versus Gilbert Burns. That's the title card. That's what people care about.
Know any of them going into this? Because I wish these guys wore jerseys. I'm not going to be able to tell them apart.
So here's why I'm interested in Woodley. This is the first reason, is that he's taken 14 months off. And I'm always interested in a fighter who loses their ring, loses the title, and then takes more than a year off. Because to me, that shows me that they went through some shit. Like, they had to go back home to their family, to their friends, to their hometown, and be a loser for a year. 14 months is a long-ass time. We've been in quarantine for 3 months, and it feels like a fucking eternity. So 14 months is a long time to be out. The second thing is, this dude that he's going to fight, Burns, has won 5 straight fights. Yeah, this is a little research ESPN Plus gives me. But he's won 5 straight fights, and you're fighting a dude who's coming in with a hot streak. He's got Woodley's the heavy favorite. Yeah. Heavy favorite. You bet $100, you get $65 back. So you're making $65 on your $100. I'm not entirely super impressed by this fight either, Jacob, but at least it might give us something. There might be an upset at least.
Yeah, I mean, his last fight was against Kamaru Usman, and that guy just decapitates people basically. So I don't know. If I was fighting somebody, I would definitely. If I'm a pretty prominent fighter, I'm looking to make a name of myself in the welterweight division, like both of those guys are. I would definitely, to make a case for myself, I would want to go against the best people in the league. But to just float by and get a paycheck during the pandemic, probably wouldn't take this fight.
Really? If you were Burns or if you were Woodley?
Both, honestly, because
really?
they're going to pass each other. They're pretty evenly matched, I feel. At least, Woodley has a lot more experience, but Gilbert is probably the most fresh and, seasoned, at this point right now.
I get what you're saying. So you wouldn't, if you were a, say, second, third, fourth level fighter, that you're trying to get to that number one level, would you be taking fights right now, or would you just be training?
Yeah, I'd definitely take a fight right now. If I'm up there right now.
Yeah. So at what level is it the risk reward is too much for you?
I think if I'm near the bottom of the heap of the welterweight division, don't take a fight right now. Just be like, you know what? I think it's better for my sanity, my own health. I'm just gonna take this time, go train in the mountains or something. That would be kind of sick.
I said that if there was a time to make a name for yourself in fighting, it would be right now. Kind of like how you're talking about the collective bargaining agreement with the fighters. If I was a guy who, say, wanted to make some real money, I would just be promoting myself this entire time. If I got left off this card, I'd be like, I'm willing to fight. F the coronavirus. I'm better than it. I'm bigger than it. I'm going to go fight. And you know what would happen? Like what could happen at least, And I think Dana White, if it was up to him, he'd get all these fighters paired up with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, and they'd go golf too. Like he's all in it for the money. So if he can get a bunch of guys ready for the next fight in like 2 weeks, he's in,
Yeah. Or what happens to the guys like Cowboy Cerrone, who has like a whole ranch to himself, Like that guy's fine probably in like a part of the country that hasn't been, devastated by the coronavirus.
And that was what was interesting with Fight Island, was that it was if you are from a different country, say you're from America or South Korea or another one of these countries that or Italy that has a ton of this virus, are we letting you onto Fight Island? Like, do we test your temperature at the gate? Like, how do we let you on the Fight Island? I'm fine if you're Taiwanese and you want to fight. They don't have any cases. I'm fine if you're Japanese. They have less cases in America. Bring all those fighters in. I don't know if I want any American fighters on my island. Get everybody sick.
Yeah, well, but before, they tested one fighter tested positive before the past fight too.
Did they let him fight?
No, they didn't let him fight. Ronaldo Souza?
I'm shocked.
Tested positive for coronavirus?
I thought for sure that Dana White would be like, yeah, let this guy go off. Let this guy fight.
Well, the story goes that, he apparently some of his family members were exposed to the coronavirus, so they knew there was a chance. And it was him, I think, one of his trainers and somebody else on his team was positive, but asymptomatic. But, and so he knew that there was a chance too. He showed up gloved up and masked up to the weigh-ins and stuff. But after they tested him, I think it took like 2 or 3 days to get the results back, and that's what happened.
So there's got to be, kind of staying on fighting, but like kind of pivoting to sports in general, there's got to be an easier way than the sticking the thing up people's noses, right? Like, yeah. There's no way that is the number one test right now. There's got to be a different way.
Well, I think just based on like the number of tests like handed out, isn't it definitely like the antibody test that's like the most readily available? Because I think the COVID tests are like currently being used for like people that are like definitely like, okay, why are you in the hospital right now? Let's figure this out,
Yeah. Well, because are you less of a fighter if you're like, I'm not letting you stick a swab up my nose?
Yeah, I don't know. Joe Rogan was also talking about moving to Texas because Texas is one of the states that's like opening up right now,
Yeah. 25% capacity. They let 25% of fans in.
Yeah, and that's starting today, right? Friday. Wow. Yeah, they announced that not too long ago.
If you are a fan of fighting, are you going to these fights? If they say, hey, we're going to do it in Jerry World, we're going to do it in Reliant Stadium, and we're going to do it in the Alamo Dome. We're going to turn these like big football arenas into Fight Central. So there's a bunch of space. Everybody can have their space. Would you say, let me go get a ticket, let me go to this? Or are you still, we mentioned earlier, you're still kind of antsy about going out? Are you waiting for a vaccine? Where are you right now with it?
Yeah, well, according to the Texas Department of State Health Services, there are 19,312 estimated active cases.
I'm going to add 2,000 to that.
Yeah,
no, I'm serious. I think that there's a pretty good margin of error.
And you can get it again. So estimated, there's been over 40,000 recoveries, just shy of 40,100. So,
you going to these games or not?
Oh, but like I was saying, hang on. Let me give you some more radio numbers here. So I guess I was wrong because I'm still waiting for one of the numbers to come in. But as of yesterday, there was 893,275 COVID viral tests.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, but that number just updated. So it's 1,027,449 total tests as of today. and antibody tests are 96,719 in our fair state of Texas. So I guess they do have more COVID tests than antibody tests, or giving out more.
But at the end of the day, if you're a fighter, are you letting a swab go up your nose? If you're a fan, are you letting a swab go up your nose before you go to these fights?
You know, most fighters like break their noses in fight too, so I imagine some of them have sensitive nostrils and stuff. Like that just wouldn't be fun to me. Because if I've gotten my nose broken a couple times, even just in training, you know, or you slightly mess it up or something, because it doesn't take that much force to break a nose, but putting a swab up your nose, that's got to do something to you, right?
It's just like, I don't like it when water comes out of my nose, man. I don't like it like when you were at the cafeteria in like 4th and 5th grade and you got milk and it came out your nose. I didn't like that. I don't want something going in. I'm a firm believer in what is supposed to come out is supposed to come out. What is supposed to come in is supposed to come in. I don't like foreign objects going in and out.
The pot, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, to clean the side. I didn't like those. I'm a big like, let me get some tissues. Let me just blow it out. I don't need some Nessie pot or whatever to go up there. I don't like that.
Worse is when you're at the beach and just salt water runs up to your nose. That's terrible.
All right,
Which
so
I think it's the same thing. Actually.
Little off topic. Beaches are opening up in Texas. People are idiots, period. End of story. Are you a big beach guy?
I love the beach. I love the water.
I've never been a big beach guy. Never been a big, let's all hang out at the beach. I like pools. Pools are fine. The whole, like, beach thing, it feels dirty to me. I've seen what oil tankers let off. I don't think I need it. Fish poop there. I think I'm good.
I'm pulling up because I'm in the valley right now. So, this Hidalgo. Cameron County is like where the beaches are. It's like South Padre Island. So they have a plan to partially reopen, as things are kind of going, and the governor is like, yeah, whatever. I've heard it's been like a mess in California, according to Joe Rogan and Tony Hawk. But yeah, definitely, I think you're right. People are idiots, and it's not going to be great. I don't know. I've always gone out like way out there, like mile 6 or mile 8, where you need like a 4x4 vehicle to like get all the way out there and just away from people in general. I don't like sharing the beach, so that's what me and my friends have done. And I don't know why you would just want to be out there with people in the beginning.
Well, I'm looking at these videos from the Ozarks. I'm looking at these videos from like South Padre Island. Even have you seen some of them on Snapchat and like Twitter and stuff?
Yeah.
Where it's just like it's shoulder to shoulder. How is that enjoyable? Who is enjoying doing that? Is just the biggest question I've always had. Is like what possesses you to say I want to be that close to another person?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like most people. I tolerate you and just a couple other people in my life. So
it's incredible. So if you had to bet on this fight, this Woodley fight, Woodley Burns, the heavy favorite is Woodley. I'm a fan of the underdog, but I'm thinking I'm taking him. He feels like I said the 14 months off. He's probably going to be healthier. How are you feeling right now? Former champion.
Former champion. Yeah, I think I don't really care. That's the thing, Like they haven't generated interest for this fight for me personally. It's like, take either one of them. I think I had the Vegas odds up too. Let me find them.
Is anybody in the undercard like interest you at all?
Not really.
So honestly, you did a pot. You said let's do a UFC podcast, and was like, I don't really care about any of these fighters.
There's a lot of other UFC news that's going on. I mean, they're gonna fight catchweight Conor McGregor and Anderson Silva.
You want to talk about that? Let's talk about that. I'm a big McGregor fan. I'm a big McGregor fan. Even though he is the most problematic fighter probably on the planet, he's probably the most problematic fighter since Tyson when it comes to just like, oh, you're a fan of that guy. I've liked him. Very outspoken, very problematic. Where are you standing on the Conor McGregor fan club?
I like Conor McGregor, but anything he tries to do like outside of his wheelhouse, like go up in weight, try to fight Floyd Mayweather, or do something ridiculous like that, it always happens. It's just not going to happen for him. I think Anderson Silva is going to destroy him. Especially he's a southpaw too. He's just about the same height as McGregor, I'm pretty sure. McGregor's like 5'9", so honestly, I can almost fight Conor McGregor at this point. Not saying Nevada would sanction it, but saying it could happen.
So is he going up a level to fight Silva?
Yeah, he's going up.
When has that ever worked? Honestly, like in the history of fighting, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, boxing, MMA, UFC, has it ever worked where a fighter was like, let me go up in weight, go to your home turf, and fight you?
Well, some guys, like taller, lanky guys, because they already have so much mass, sometimes they'll try and go down in weight just because they're like overpower people just because how big they are. You know, that's what that guy, what's that guy? Pazienza? Is that? Yeah, the Miles Teller movie that's on Netflix right now. But that's what he did. And then he spent the latter portion of his career going up, or just like, slightly. But I think he went up 2 weight classes, and that's how he finished.
Well, didn't McGregor go up when he was getting his second belt?
Yeah, because he was first a light heavyweight, featherweight or something like that. Then he went up to the welterweights, and yeah.
That was incredible to me, but I don't think enough people realize how wild it was that he had 2 belts at the same time. Like, I think that huh?
It's a big deal. He called himself the double champ.
It's just a big deal because now, like, for those of people who don't understand fighting, don't understand boxing, it's like when you're the champion, everybody's gunning for you. Everybody's asking to fight you. You're having to turn down fights. For the first time in a lot of these guys' career, you're turning down fights. For you to have 2 belts in a sport that is rapidly expanding, now you're having to get twice that amount of people in your inbox, calling your manager, calling your team, saying, set up a fight, let's set up a fight, let's fight. And if you're McGregor, you're a fighter. You've never turned anything down before. You've never said, we're not going to do this meeting, we're not going to do that meeting. So when he had those early, I was like, this is going to be bad. He could lose both those titles as quickly as he got them. And he somehow was able to keep them. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess relative to his whole career, it was pretty short-lived, but he also started to do other stuff and, like, pretty much became the face of UFC, at least, like, for the contemporary fans that, like, because it was, like, an in-and-out thing, right? It was, like, super popular, like, when it first got started, and it was when it was on, like, Spike TV, and, like, when The Ultimate Fighter came out, George St. Pierre, and, like, Brock Lesnar stopped, like, wrestling and started, like, actually fighting, then went back to wrestling. That was kind of cool. But then, like, it stopped being, like, that, and then, like, like, I guess people would, like, qualify like more, like, boring fighters, like Forrest Griffith and stuff like that, like, started, like, emerging, and people were like, oh, well, turn this off. Like, these guys are just, like, fighting now. It doesn't really matter. But then Conor McGregor comes out, and he starts throwing barricades into buses and assaulting people in bars. I guess that's what people want.
Well, I was going to say Bones Jones was like the dude that, for me, was like, oh, this is serious. Like, oh, okay. And, I never liked Camardi. I never was a big fan of his. He did an okay job commentating the last fight. Never was a big fan of his, but I give him some credit, too, in, like, the new kind of, like, getting newer fans in. And then McGregor, of course, he roped a lot of people in, too. But the fight was with Sylvia. So where would you say, how soon do you think that fight, A, is going to happen, and B, is going to end with a McGregor loss?
I don't think they're gonna do it very soon. I think that'd be weird if they did it like as like a marquee event. Yeah, like as a marquee event to end like the summer. I feel like that wouldn't happen. Maybe the end of the year, yeah, like December or something. Like things like hopefully, really start relaxing. Or maybe they get worse, because people have been talking about the second wave and how it would be worse in fall. I don't know. Can't predict the future. But if I'm Dana White, I would want people to like, oh, this is like gonna happen. This is like what's gonna drive headlines for like weeks, if not months, into the future.
Let's do best case, worst case. Best case, he wins this fight and then he sticks with the UFC. Because worst case is he loses this fight handily and goes back to trying to box. Like, yeah. I'm a big boxing guy. I like boxing. I liked watching it when I was little. I like watching it now. He's not a boxer. Wasn't a boxer in the ring. Wasn't a boxer when he fought Mayweather. He's not a good boxer.
Well, his background's in boxing, but yeah, I guess that doesn't qualify him as a professional boxer.
No, right? Yeah. But background in boxing is taking a boxing class at the YMCA. Like,
right. Guess
Come
we
on.
got the same level of experience. You, me, and Conor McGregor.
You know what? It's sometimes watching him box, I think so. But
Well, it's not so much like his power or his like anything. It's his accuracy, and that's what people have always said. It's like that's like the marquee thing of his like striking strategy is that he's able to just hit the button at the best time possible. And like,
but he didn't do that when he was a boxer.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, no, he did a really good job. No,
he had a good first 3 rounds against Floyd, but that's still like one of the best boxers of all time, probably.
Yeah,
especially
think so.
in that division.
So
and that's another one that I think Conor went down for that one too.
To fight Mayweather. Floyd. Yeah, which is dumb. Which was stupid. That to me was the fight that you do in a different country. You don't do it in Vegas. You go to another country where there's no or very lax laws with boxing or no boxing regulator, and you let those two guys get as big or as small as they want to and fight. Because the stuff that they were saying, why do we need to have rules for that type of fight? Like, you need to have a referee in there to make sure nobody like does a low blow or something like that. But you don't need to have the Las Vegas Fighting Commission be like, oh, yeah, no, this fight will happen. No, go to a different country, go somewhere else, go make that fight happen. We don't want to see that again. If they try to roll this back for round 2, we don't want it. Keep it.
They've been talking about it, though. You know, it might happen.
I know.
It's
a terrible idea. I don't want that to happen at all. All right, wrapping it up. I want to talk about
Mike Tyson.
I want to talk about Tyson. I want to talk about Tyson.
All right. The conspiracy theory is that the video of him, if you haven't seen the video, it's on Twitter. It was trending like wildfire for the longest time. It's a video of Tyson. He's like 1,000 years old, but he's still got his hands. The conspiracy theory is that A, it was sped up. If not sped up, he was out of breath when it was done. Thoughts? I don't think it was sped up. I definitely think he was gassed at the end because, I mean, what he was doing was like incredible. It's just great shadow boxing. But, like, anybody could do that if you were a good boxer. And he's, like, one of the best of all time. He has statues of his fucking fist, like that. So, I mean, that's, like, his thing, is punching. And it would be my thing, too, if I was a professional fighter. I don't think – I mean, it's pretty easy to do that, though. Anybody can shadow box. But to move that fast and fluidly, I think it just, like, opened everybody's eyes to, like, oh, like, obviously we haven't seen fighters that are, like, you know, like Mayweather Sr., who's like basically ruined from his career in boxing. You know, Mike Tyson apparently was taking very good care of himself. And he didn't do anything like boxing related for a long time. And he said he didn't want to because his heart wasn't in it. And like there was just like no point. He didn't even want to work out because it's like useless. Basically.
It showed.
Yeah.
It showed.
Well, now he's getting back into it.
If
he stopped doing the animated TV show and he's back to work.
I don't want this fight. That's the thing. Is that remember a couple years ago there was a Sly Stallone did a movie where he was a washed up fighter and he was fighting like who was it? De Niro, I think. I think it was like old guys or some shit like that. And they were fighting and it was an awful movie. People tried to forget it as soon as they saw it. Nobody wants to see old men fight. Same way nobody wants to see old men rap. Nobody wants to see old men fight. You go anywhere. Go on the street, go to the barbershop, go to the clubs. The minute that the old dudes start pushing and shoving each other, what do? We all start booing. Nobody wants to see that. Let the young guys play. Let the young guys have the fights. Keep Tyson, keep Holyfield, keep Foreman, keep everybody away. Keep everybody away.
Well, the thing that I was listening to Joe Rogan talk about is that Mike Tyson's newest trainer is a guy from Brazil. And he was like instrumental in like all those prize fighting stuff that happened in Brazil, and that basically made like Zuffa and like all those like UFC guys be like, we should take this to America. I mean, I guess that's not who originally owned it, so that's kind of not true too. But whatever. But this guy is like instrumental in just like striking in general. So it's not like Tyson's gonna come back and like expect to fight like 12 rounds for a belt. Like, he's going to kill somebody in the ring. That's pretty much what he's going for.
I think that he would get his ass kicked up and down the fucking mat by a guy like Fury. Like, Fury, Wilder, who's our fat friend who held the belt for like a minute?
Oh, my boy. Yeah. He recently got himself an unfollow. That's what he got.
I'm just saying that if any of the current contemporary fighters had a fight against Tyson, they're winning, hands down. And I love Tyson. I love Tyson. I love Ali. I love those type of guys. No. Keep Tyson away from the ring. If you're in Tyson's camp, it's reported $20 million payout for Tyson and Holyfield if they do have a fight. It's supposed to be $20 million, split between not split between it, but they're both going to get about 20. It's a lot of money. I think they should keep it. Don't embarrass yourselves.
That would be crazy if Andy Ruiz Jr. fought Mike Tyson, and that was his next level clear to fame. Because I don't know if Wilder's not giving him another chance, right? They're not doing a round 3.
Third? I heard that they might. I heard that they might do a third round, which I would be into.
Well, because Andy gave him his shot back, and so don't they go back and forth twice before they're like, all right, we're done, obviously?
Yeah. Normally it's a 2. Normally you sign a 2-fight contract. You fight him once. You fight the champ once, and the champ gets to fight you again. But, like, I would be – if I was Andy Ruiz Jr., I would just keep doing the fights I'm doing. I'd climb back up the ranks. And if I'm, like, 3 or 4, I'd say, listen, let me get my belt back. Because let's be real. In the first fight, he was better prepared. He was. In the second fight, he had a hangover. He was hungover from the title. No, like, let's be real. Like, not drunk hangover, but hungover from winning the title, from being a, like, star. If you give him another chance, I think he could do something. I'm in.
Right.
I'm in on Andy Ruiz Jr. I couldn't remember his name earlier, but I'm in. I like him. I think he's fine.
Well, he's been out of the headlines and stuff. It's not our fault.
No, I'm trying to figure out what the name of this activist is and the name of this, like, MLB guy. It's too much. I couldn't remember Andy Ruiz Jr.'s name. Yeah.
He's 33, 2-0, and 6'2". So
he's 6'2"?
Yeah, 6'2".
All right. Before I let you go, I keep trying to wrap this up. Before I let you go, Dak Prescott, does he get signed or not this week?
This week, probably not.
Next week.
Mike McCarthy was like, he's in a business deal. So it's kind of, I don't know, going from like Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy, who like sat out for a year last year and just watched film and was like preparing. I think he knew going into this that this is like kind of bigger than that. And like, you know, that this is like a business. It doesn't matter how much you love the game. Sometimes you're just not the right fit for the right job or whatever that you thought was going on, you know? And so he sat out for a year, right? Started making all these little business connections, started like basically, pretending he was a general of a ship or of a whole thing. And now he like has the reins to the Dallas Cowboys empire, getting ready for a Super Bowl. No time for distractions.
Where does Dak Prescott fit in all this?
Dak just needs to take a cut for 1 year. We're good. Oh, just give him an early option, and then that's how you right the situation, you know?
I don't know if you listened to the podcast, probably didn't, but I talked bad about every quarterback. I talked myself out of every one. I wasn't in on Dak early, but he is the quarterback that I think that he could win a Super Bowl. Like, I genuinely think that if Dak was if he comes back and does a 1-year deal, I want to see what this offensive line looks like. I want to see what this defense looks like. I want to see what I can do with these weapons. Because there's like, I think 2 or 3 teams that would say, yeah, no, we'll take a risk on him. We'll roll the dice. Tampa Bay, how long is Tom Brady going to stay there? Las Vegas, how long is Carr going to be there? Chargers, like, we signed Herbert, but let's be real here. If they have a good team and that's the thing holding them back, you give Dak a 2-year contract, you pay him a lot of money, and you see if you can go win a Super Bowl. Like, I think that he's going to be a guy that you want around. But
well, don't you think being around Mike Nolan would help Dak more too?
Maybe.
I think just having like more like talent around the defensive side of the ball will kind of open his eyes up more, because I don't know what the heck was going on sometimes, but Dak just couldn't see like what we were seeing happen 2 or 3 seconds later on the screen. And it's like that type of awareness that's always been missing from Dak. A lot of people were like, oh, it's his accuracy, or oh, it's like him trying to like favor Amari Cooper because they just brought him in and he was like the savior for the last 4 games the first season he was here or whatever, which I think there's some truth to that. Like, he definitely has some favorites that he wants to target, and like it looks good for the franchise and stuff like that. But he's got a lot of talent under him now, and I think people are going to start opening his eyes to not only his self-worth on the team, but like the talent that is around him everywhere.
So this was my take. He plays like a fourth-round quarterback. He's not a first-round quarterback. There's a reason he didn't go in the first round. There's a reason Carson Wentz went ahead of him. It's because Carson Wentz looked like a first-round, second-pick guy. Dak didn't look like that in college. Doesn't really look like that in the NFL, but I still believe in him. I still think he has a chance. Jacob, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. And who you putting money on in these fights?
I'm betting the over pretty much on all of them because I don't think there's going to be too many shocks on these, except that Woodley Burns one. I think that one can go either way.
All right, good stuff.
Pick the one that looks the nicest in the walkout.
All right, before I let you go, I had to give you breaking news as we were about to end the podcast. I was about to wrap it up, put it online for you gentlemen and ladies, and I saw this news come through my timeline. I had to tell you. So, if you haven't been keeping up with it, Barstool Sports owner Dave Portnoy, a friend of the show, he decided to bid 250,000 large ones on the NFL charity. All the money goes to COVID relief, and he was going to win a Monday Night Football experience with Roger Goodell. And I have to just say, pulling back on this, coward move, Goodell, coward move. I just want to throw this in there at the end. So, catch us again Monday when we have more content, and hopefully you guys catch the UFC fights this weekend, Saturday, on ESPN+. Until then, stay safe, and I will talk to you later.